played once, Sam. For all time's sake.
Hey, what's up? And welcome back to another delightful edition of Play It Back, where we're talking about the marketing and advertising campaigns that defined categories, shifted beliefs, and shaped the way that we live our lives. Now, my name's Kevin, and like every marketer you have ever come across on LinkedIn, I am a category creator. I mean, hell, why not? Super easy to say. Seems like everyone you know is calling themselves a category creator these days. Look, here's how you do it. You take a hashtag, and then you take a new term for doing the same thing that other people have been doing for years, and you put them together. Yesterday, I saw somebody trying to coin the term event-led growth as a category. And guys, I have a secret for you. That's just marketing. I get it. It is so in vogue to talk about defining a new category. It's like the marketing equivalent of, I don't know, being an NFT collector. Oh, or pretending Drake's slow dribble mid-range step back is somehow fire. SportsCenter, I'm looking at you on that one. It's getting ridiculous. But guys, as marketers, as advertisers, as business people in general, you really don't have to do that. You can just solve a problem that people have. You can just give them a product that adds value. Because you know what? It's not always the person or company who names the category that gets credit for it, so you're spinning your tires. Just ask biochemist Joseph Awades, who worked for New York's Rheingold Brewery, the inventor of light beer. You know, Rheingold. It's the light beer that we all crack open at a barbecue each Saturday. No? I swear I have some Rheingold around here somewhere. Hold on. Oh, my bad. They don't exist. The inventor of light beer, a category that's expected to reach $338 billion by 2027, doesn't exist. But do you know who does? Miller Lite. So today we're going to dig into the light beer category and how Miller Lite, the original light beer, might not be. Okay, look, to this day, if you go to Miller Lite's website, you'll see them touting the fact that they're the original light beer. But original, to their own admission, doesn't mean first. In order to understand what happened, you need to understand the climate of the time. It's 1967. Wellness and health food are not what it is today. No one had gluten allergies. No one had vegan diets. We ate whiskey neat for breakfast with a side of unfiltered Camel cigarettes, and we chased it down with some Wonder Bread fried in a pan full of lard. Ooh-wee, that was delightful. Now, to understand Miller Lite's success, you also have to understand the history of New York's Rheingold Brewery. Rheingold brewed its first beer in the late 1800s, and by the mid-20th century, it had already cornered 35% of New York State's beer sales. Rheingold had built its reputation on being a working-class brew. When the World Trade Center fell, there are actually stories of cans of Rheingold being found throughout the rubble from construction workers who had hit them in the beams while drinking on the job. Man, work was so much more fun back then. You know, other than the hours and the wages and the blatant sexism and racism. Anyway, Rheingold wanted to appeal to everybody. When Nat King Cole became the first major black entertainer to host a TV show, Rheingold, which was owned by a Jewish family, was one of the very few advertisers who didn't run for the hills. They also sponsored the Jackie Robinson radio show, and they had TV ads featuring African American, Puerto Rican, and Asian actors. That simply wasn't done at the time. Rheingold was ahead of their time. Now, why am I talking about Rheingold in a segment that's supposed to be about Miller Lite? Because Rheingold wanted to appeal to everyone. And in their effort to expand to new markets, in 1967, Rheingold released the first modern low-calorie beer, developed by biochemist Joseph Awades, using a process that he took from chemist Dr. Hirsch Gablinger of Basel, Switzerland. Basel, Switzerland? I'm not really sure. Anyway, they named the brew Gablinger's Diet Beer. And it's worth mentioning that this really wasn't the first beer of its kind either. There are references of low alcohol light beer as far back as 1000 AD. But in the modern world, Rheingold were the new kids on the block. And their intent, as you might expect, was to go after health-conscious folks with the first light beer. But here's the problem. No one cared. I know, I can hear what you're saying. But Kev, the light beer industry is worth $285 billion. How can you tell me it didn't catch on? And it did, you're right. Just not because it was healthy. Okay, let's step back one more time. After the failure of Gablinger's, Owadis asked his boss at Rheingold if he could share the beer recipe with a friend at Chicago-based Peter's Hand Brewing. Now try to keep up. Peter's Hand was bought by some investors and rebranded as Meisterbrau. Meisterbrau relaunched Gablinger's diet beer as Meisterbrau Light, again targeting these diet-conscious consumers. Meisterbrau even sold itself as the light and lusty beer. At one point, they had a woman doing a leg lift exercise on the packaging. I'm not really sure how she was bending that way, but it was nice. And I know what you're saying. That's ridiculous. But we all know that if you saw the light and lusty hard seltzer next time you were at Safeway, we'd all be saying, I'm light, I'm lusty. That sounds amazing. In the 70s, we might not have been so open-minded. So in 1972, Meisterbrau went bankrupt despite being, so lusty. So what do we have? We had a concept for a less filling, lower calorie beer that had failed twice after going after the diet-conscious buyer. Why didn't it work? It would be so easy to give up on this category altogether, call it a bust and focus elsewhere. But Miller president John Murphy saw an opportunity. They snatched Meisterbrau and the recipe for Rheingold's Gablinger's beer. Then they did some market research with agency McCann Erickson. They sent a team to Anderson, Indiana, where Meisterbrau Light was especially popular. They wanted to see why blue-collar drinkers were so drawn to it. Imagine that, 2022, a marketer who went into the field to talk to real customers instead of a spreadsheet. It was wild, wacky stuff. And what they found is that light beer, just like a nerdy high schooler from an 80s movie, needed a rebrand. So light beer did what that nerdy kid did. It paid a more popular student to be its friend. Patrick Dempsey would be so proud. Man, now I want some pizza. That's not even the same movie. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. They pivoted away from the diet beer concept and focused on what a good old blue-collar barfly actually wanted in a beer. They wanted it to be less filling so they could crush even more of them. To quote a Chicago Tribune article, beer drinkers don't count calories. They count bottles and rounds. Look, one of the interesting things that I learned about digging into this is that Miller Lite is actually comparable to Guinness Stout in terms of alcohol content and calories. It just has less carbs, so it makes you feel less full. Okay, remember a minute ago when I was talking about Patrick Dempsey paying the popular girl to make him look cool? Yeah, apparently it made him sleazy and desperate, but guys, that's basically influencer marketing, right? And that's what Miller Lite did. They went straight to Super Bowl star Matt Snell.
New light beer from Miller. Everything you've always wanted in a beer, and less filling, because it has less carbohydrates and 1/3 less calories than a regular beer. I didn't drink all this beer by myself. I had a little help from my friend. But imagine a great tasting beer that's less filling. And at 6'3", 230, there's a lot of me to fill.
Come on!
New Light, everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Now look, I'm a 39-year-old, 6'4", 225-pound guy. Even today, I'm not thinking about my diet if I have a couple beers. I am thinking, oh my God, that makes me feel bloated. But I don't want to say it out loud because my friends are around and I'm insecure. So you hit my TV screen with badass Matt Snell, who's 6'3", 230, telling me, imagine this great tasting beer that's less filling with 8 empties on the table in front of him. And I think, all right, I can get behind this. Fun fact about that ad, by the way, it was apparently Snell during a 3-day-long television commercial shoot at a rented-out bar in New York who came up with the slogan, everything you want in a beer and less. The Miller Lite campaign continued from there with football legends like Dick Butkus, John Madden, Bubba Smith, and by 2013, light beer made up 40% of beer sales in the U.S. Miller Lite even brought back the original can. It was supposed to be part of a campaign for Anchorman 2, but when sales soared, they kept it. People even said the beer tasted better that way. Today, Miller Lite is the number 4 selling beer in U.S., not just light beer, overall. And in 2020, it did $2.2 billion in sales. So what can we learn from Miller Lite? First of all, don't focus on creating the category. Focus on creating the right value for your potential customers. At the time, Miller Lite didn't try to be a healthy choice, and they didn't try to bully folks into believing diet beer was important. They shifted. The company and McCann Erickson listened to customers. They went to the source. They talked to real people, and they were patient enough to learn they weren't trying to be healthy. They just wanted to be the beer that you could pound 37 of and not explode. Ha ha! So don't be too quick to give up on concepts when your gut tells you there's something there, but move quick when you do find that market fit. And you find that market fit through research and testing. Miller did a small roadshow after McCann. They said, are we actually onto something here, before they threw everything at it? Now, finally, be diligent about your partners. Who has the hearts and minds of your potential buyer? Tap into those communities, tap into those influencers, the folks who can speak authentically to the people that you want to sell to. Simplicity wins every time. So in the name of simplicity, be everything you want in a marketer and less. Hey, look, thanks for playing it back with me. Don't forget to subscribe at playitback.co and check out the past episodes from both me and my co-host Tim. And we will see you next time we play it back. Thanks.